I got a really interesting question from the viewer named The Baked Beans. What can be done to improve as a home cook? I don't feel like I can make the same dish again and again because someone has to eat it and my family will get sick of the same thing every day. This is such a great question that I thought it deserves its own video. Okay, so let's talk about how you can become a great cook without feeding your family 50 burgers in a row. So first, let's understand the difference between restaurant cooks and home cooks. People often say that, of course, restaurant cooks are good. They do this all the time. They make 100 steaks a day and, 100 chickens a day. But at home, I obviously can't do that. So how can I ever get good? So there's completely different meanings of the word good for a home cook and a restaurant cook. It's not the quality. Your food can be absolutely as delicious as the restaurant cook's food. The difference is that you need to be able to make that steak or chicken or chickpea stew, and that's it. They have to be able to do that while multitasking. They have to be able to cook that steak and salmon and chicken at the same time, do that for like 4 hours straight in 100-degree heat. They work in extreme conditions and they have to multitask like crazy. At home, you really don't need to be able to do a steak while also cooking 8 other dishes. So how long does it take to just make your steak or whatever it is good? About 5 to 10 tries, probably, if you're really new to this technique. How long would it take to get you good under extreme restaurant conditions? That's more like hundreds of times. So now that we know you only need like 5 to 10 tries to get good at a dish, what does this mean? Do you need to serve a burger to your family 10 days in a row? I mean, because I can understand that would be tiring to them. So the answer is no. After thinking about this for a while, about how I practice cooking, because I'm learning new things all the time, so I practice a lot, I came up with 5 principles of good, smart practice. And I have some notes on them here. Okay, so the first principle is don't practice meals, practice components. Okay, so a component might be caramelized onions, or it might be the burger, just the patty, or it might be the brioche bun, or it might be the sautéed mushrooms. So you're not making the whole burger with caramelized onions, sautéed mushrooms, and brioche bun every single day for a long time. You're practicing one thing that might be just caramelized onions. And if you're practicing components, you can turn those components into completely different meals. One day those caramelized onions might end up in a burger, the other day in a grilled cheese sandwich, the other day on pizza, the other day in a bean stew. So it really doesn't feel repetitive when you're just testing a component. And then once you're good at that component, you move on to another thing that you're trying to perfect. And even if that component is a pretty big part of a meal, like it might be roast chicken, right? One day you might serve it with one vegetable and another day with another vegetable. Another thing is that even though you need 5 to 10 tries usually to get good at that component, they don't have to be in a row. But that being said, it's very helpful to practice 2 days in a row. And that's my principle number 2. Practice a component 2 days in a row, once a week. So the first week, say Monday, Tuesday, I might schedule my roast chicken because I'm trying to perfect my roast chicken. So Monday, I'll make roast chicken with one vegetable. Tuesday, I'll make roast chicken with another vegetable. And then you can always serve leftovers for lunches and dinners during the week. Then you take a break. And then you repeat that the following week. Again, Monday you make roast chicken, Tuesday you make roast chicken, or whatever it is that you're practicing. So this way you just get to do it 2 days in a row, not 10 days in a row. All right, so the next principle of good practice is understanding that what your family wants is better food, not different food. Okay, you're thinking that you will serve them the same burger for 10 days in a row. You're not. each time you're going to serve them a better burger. And people generally are very receptive to better food. You know, at least I asked my family this because I thought, am I just assuming this? I asked them and they said, but it gets better. So first day, say you're serving them a mediocre burger, and the second day you're serving them a better burger. Almost everybody would rather have a better burger than mediocre burger on day 1, and mediocre chicken on day 2, and mediocre pasta on day 3, and mediocre salmon on day 4. And you're constantly giving them variety, but all of it sucks. Okay, so people are generally very receptive to you improving and getting better. They're very supportive. And no, you're not serving them a burger 10 days in a row, but twice a week, 2 days in a row, that's not so bad. Now, if they are upset about this, they are welcome to make their own meals. You know, you're not holding them hostage. They don't have to eat your food. They are welcome to cook their own food. All right, so the fourth principle of good practice is that you need to try a recipe way more than once. You know the movie that became kind of iconic movie, Julia, about Julia Child and Julie Powell, who had that blog, Julia Project, where she cooked every dish from Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking in 1 year. So she made each dish once. It makes a good story. In real life, this is the most horrible concept in terms of practice. I don't know if you heard, Julia Child actually thought it was a really stupid idea. Again, great story, great story. And the movie is great, by the way. I love Meryl Streep. So, but it's a really stupid undertaking to make a dish only once. You don't learn that way. You don't learn from completing 500 recipes in a year. You learn from doing something over and over again. This is what helps you adapt it to your equipment, to your ingredients, and really understand the ins and outs of a dish. So when people say, oh yeah, I'm practicing roast chicken, so this week I'm gonna make Rachel Ray's roast chicken, and next week I'm gonna make Ina Gardner's roast chicken, and next week I'm gonna make Serious Seeds roast chicken. You're not necessarily learning much, because each one of those dishes is completely different. They might take completely different approach. So what I suggest is find a good, reliable source. Like, I mean, if you're gonna stick to a recipe for a little bit, you want to at least know that it was well tested, other people had success with it. And then give it a couple of tries, because the first run is always, you know, you really don't know. When they say medium heat, what is that for your stove? What is that for your skillet? It might be different than medium. So when they say, oh, for about 10 minutes, again, it might not be 10 minutes for you. So it really helps to repeat the recipes and get them better and better. And this brings me to the principle number 5, which is take notes. I think this is the most important thing about learning to cook or learning to do anything else. Usually people love this romantic idea of the stained, splattered cookbook with notes in the margins. For me, the margins are never enough space for notes. I mean, my notes are bigger than the recipe itself. There is not enough room to write all that in the margins. So I have, for every single cooking technique, I have a Google Doc. Anytime I start learning something new, like for example, right now I'm trying to learn falafel. I start a Google Doc called Falafel Notes, and I start with somebody's recipe, and then after I make it, I type it up. I type up what my version of this recipe is. This way, you also can write it in a way that's meaningful to you, because some recipes give too much detail for you and some not enough detail for you. Like some things might be easy for you, like how to preheat the pans. You don't need to put that in your recipe. You can focus on the things that matter. You can focus on, ooh, I did this and this happened, and so next time I want to try to increase this ingredient or decrease this ingredient, or increase the time or decrease the time or temperature. And so you want to write down what you did, how that worked, and what you think you should try next. And keep in mind that some dishes you can totally mess with and say, oh, they used parsley, and next time I want to try this 5 other herbs instead of parsley. Sure, yeah, that's not 5 substitutions, that you can mess with even on try 1. But if it's a baking recipe or something that is, dough related, you really want to be making one change at a time. For things like proteins, it usually all boils down to doneness. So you might want to be very careful with temperature and just say, oh, this time I cooked my chicken thighs to 160 and they were a little stringy. So next time I cook them, let me try higher temperature or low temperature. In this particular case, it should be higher temperature because they are thighs. But maybe if you don't know that, you can try higher, you can try lower and see which texture you like more. But it's good to try to mess with one thing at a time. I know that people always tell you that practice makes perfect. I kind of disagree. I think it's only smart practice that makes perfect. It is not how many hours you spend cooking or doing whatever skill you want to learn. It is how strategic you are about how you spend those hours. All right, so that's all I have for you for today. Great question, baked beans, thank you. Here are more thought-provoking videos for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.